this video, we're going to talk about values. Please bear with me. Values are not fluffy. They are absolutely foundational to your business, and they're already there. So today what we're going to talk about is real world situations with clients that I've worked with as to when things go right and when things go wrong and what to do and what not to do. And if you watch to the end, then there is a free tool where you can delve into that and you can do your own values assessment. Not too long ago, I was with a client, we're in their office, we're having a walk round, we're having a look at the things, and on the wall they've got their values. And one of those values was honesty. So I'm looking at these values because this is part of what we do. We look at the values, make sure that they're right, and we went into a weekly tactical meeting and we start looking at the business and we start going through the issues and the problems and then making decisions and the headlines and things like that. And I hear them talking about a specific problem that a client had had and how they dealt with it, and they could have done it better. And part of that issue thing is how we communicate back to the client. And the outshot that was agreed, and I just sat back and listened, was, well, we can't tell them that because it's going to make us look incompetent. It's going to make us look like idiots and got contracts and commercials to keep. So we're actually just going to tell them that it wasn't our fault. It was something else that had happened in the background. And yeah, we're not gonna be honest with them. We're gonna make up a story which is more palatable for them. And at the end of this, I had to raise my hand and say, guys, what are your values? And actually, they couldn't even remember what their values were in their entirety, which is problem number one. And problem number two is when I called them up against it, they were okay, maybe a little bit defensive. There's reasoning behind it, all of which is viable, but this isn't their value. If that's how they're making decisions, this isn't their value. Would your team know your values if we ask them? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Often it's an overly verbose answer. We go in to any client and we ask everybody, and quite often it seems like this kind of SLT leadership team secret that we've created or put in a PowerPoint, but we're not reinforcing. And I say that because when we speak to these people in the team, the people who are your ambassadors on the front line, who are supposed to live these values and reflect everything that we're doing, they often can't answer. They just don't know. If I feel like I've asked them to explain the theory of relativity to me, and they just don't know. Now, some of the behaviors are there. This is the work that they do, but often the answer is no. So let's talk about core versus aspirational values and what are the difference here. And different people think different things. Some of the gurus out there have different thoughts here. Here's my take on it. When I set Ethikai up, this is obviously something that I had to articulate, I had to go through because we believe in it so much. And as I've explained in previous videos, this is like all born of my why statement, why it is that we exist, what is it that we're here to do. So when I extrapolate from that why statement, we've got certain values, and one of those values I'll use as an example that we built is genuine curiosity. I see this a lot in the industry where we talk about niche. We talk about this is our target audience, this is our ICP. And then when we dig deep, we don't really get involved. We don't really know anything because we really don't care. And I mean this in the nicest possible way, but we have genuine curiosity, and that lends itself to the MSP channel. So I don't just say that we focus on MSPs, we actually are involved. When we look at aspirational, use the same example. If I was to say our value is genuine curiosity and you asked me about the MSP industry and I couldn't tell you the difference between a level 1 engineer and a service delivery manager and what they're actually here to do, that would be an aspirational. It would be me saying that I want the world to think that we're MSP specialists, but we're not. We just want to be. They're the difference, and I think it helps you show up incredibly differently. If you don't do this, or you struggle doing this, or you want a bit of a helping hand, there's two quick fixes really that we can start with. The first one is everybody in the SLT and your leadership team, even if it's just you, anybody in your business, depends how big you are. Every weekly meeting that you have, everybody who's in that meeting is challenged with recognizing somebody in your team, and it can be a leadership team as well, with a value. And then what is it they did? And just build up a catalogue of these things happening. And it can be they lived it or they negated that value. The other one, something that will drop down, little free tool, which is A player, B player, C player. And this is against values only. This is not against team, capability, all of that stuff. This is just against values. And have a map out and see where your team is. So after watching this and you feel truly that your values are core and not aspirational, because it's very different if they are aspirational, so be very sure that they are core, ask yourself, when was the last time that you hired, you fired, and you promoted against your values? When was the last time that you did that?